Amelia Holliday. We are here at the Australian Pavilion during the Architecture Biennale. So, a swimming pool, a pool, something like a pool inside. Which was the idea of this?
The idea was really looking at the pool and the pools in all their forms from around Australia and the relationship to Australian cultural identity. So we knew instinctively and intuitively that the pool is an incredibly important public space in Australia, and that's really the story that we wanted to share in Venice and the story that we wanted to share with visitors about a particular Australian experience.
Why is pools so important in the tradition?
In Australia, pools are a very important public space. They're a space that is a very democratic space. They're a space that a lot of people had access to all around the country, from coastal pools through to pools in regional areas, municipal inner city pools, and all these pools are amazing spaces that lots of different age groups and backgrounds use, and they're generally free or very close to being free spaces, so everyone can have access to them, and they really shed light on a particular Australian kind of cultural pastime.
So instead of building houses or dealing with refugees, you just deal with people living in Australia around the pools.
Well, the pool really contains many stories, so it's a beautiful singular object that's quite seductive, but it also contains with it a series of narratives in the space, and really very important moments in our history have happened in relation to pools. So for the exhibition we chose to curate the stories around the pool through 8 sort of cultural leaders from Australia. So these are all non-architects, and we've placed them in conversation with architecture, and each of these stories really sheds light on a different theme, from childhood memory through to inspiration of music and writing, but also stories about the fight for public space. So a key reference in the project is the Aqua Profunda sign, which is painted on a wall of a pool in Melbourne in Victoria, and this is it's a heritage listed sign, and the sign itself is famously misspelt because it was commissioned in order to signify deep water for the local Italian children. It's an area with a lot of migrant population, and yet they got the spelling wrong. But the sign also signifies and represents a huge community protest movement that happened at this pool, was sprung from this pool, and was really to do with the forced closures of pools around the country in the 90s, where communities really fought back to protect these really important public assets in Australia. So whilst it might seem quite simple as an idea, there's a number of different stories within the space. I mean, also if you listen to one of our 8 storytellers is Hetty Perkins, and Hetty is an Indigenous art curator, but she's also the daughter of the late Charles Perkins, who was a very famous and very important and influential Aboriginal activist, and he was one of the leaders of the Freedom Ride, which went to Moree Pool, Artesian Baths, and was really about fighting segregation. So we had an apartheid in Australia where Aboriginal children weren't allowed to swim at the local swimming pool with white people, and that was really quite recent in 1960s, and as part of this Freedom Ride they broke into the pool and let Aboriginal children have a swim, and this is a very important moment in Australian history, and it happened at a pool, and so we have a number of these stories sort of embedded in the space, embedded in the design of these chairs, and embedded in all the different elements within the space that shed light on these different stories around the pool.
Thank you.